Hello and welcome back, adventurers. This is Captain TTRPG, and today we're talking about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Welcome back, adventurers. Today we are going to rank the subclasses or innovations for the Inventor. Before jumping into the rankings themselves, though, we'll do our usual thing in these ranking videos and just quickly talk about how we rank our subclasses. If you've watched one of the videos about subclasses before, you'll already know how I rank them, but for those who are new to it, here we go. On screen, you will see my criteria for the ranking. We rank from S to D. S is a subclass that is just clearly mechanically stronger, especially for combat, than other subclasses, while not falling behind in other pillars of play. This almost becomes like a default subclass, or the right quote-unquote way to play. There is no actual right way to play, but it feels like that with how strong an S subclass is. A is a subclass that is strong in any adventure, and it's not just strong on its own, but it helps make the team stronger. Remember that Pathfinder is a cooperative team-based game, and good subclasses take advantage of that. This is also a subclass that leans into the strengths of the class. B is a subclass that is mechanically strong on its own, or does a good job boosting the rest of the party, but really not both. It may be especially strong in certain campaigns while lacking in others. It may also land here because it just doesn't do a good job of leaning into what the class is best at, or lacks versatility outside of combat. C is a subclass that lands here because it's just not as strong in combat in any campaign, or at least there are no better than the base class without a subclass. It might not take advantage of the specialty of the class, or doesn't succeed in any pillar besides combat itself. And D is something you just might want to avoid. This is usually what I call a trap. It baits you into some of its features, using some of its feats, when that might actually make you worse at what the class is meant to do, or what the class is best at. Well, fantastic. Let's dive into the Inventor then. With the Inventor, we have 3 subclasses to rank today. Again, the innovations, and the remaster didn't change that. The 3 subclasses that we do have with the Inventor are the Armor Innovation, the Weapon Innovation, and the Construct Innovation. I'll walk through each innovation, discuss its strengths, combat encounter, play style, benefits to other pillars of play, and fit for the class in general while I give my final ranking. So what kinds of benefits do the innovations provide? Each innovation gives you 2 things at level 1, something at level 7 and at 15th, and then there are feats associated. So at level 1, you'll get the innovation itself. This is an item that represents your innovation. So a piece of armor, a weapon, or a construct companion. We'll get more into that as we get to the individual innovations. Also at level 1, you'll get the initial modifications. This is between 7 and 10 augmentations that specialize your innovation, and at level 1 you get to choose one of these modifications. At level 7 you will get the breakthrough modifications. This is between 6 and 8 depending on the innovation that you get to choose from, and you'll get to gain one of those at level 7 as well. Finally, at 15th, we get our revolutionary modifications. These are the strongest modifications you get, between 5 and 8 depending on which innovation you went with, and you'll get one for free at 15th level. I won't run through all of the modifications for each innovation because there's so many we'd be here forever, but I'll give you an idea by running through a few of them that I think really show off what's available. Finally, of course, as I mentioned, there are feats. In this case, there are between 3 and 8 feats that are unique to that innovation, so we'll talk about those and run through all of those. All right, well, let's go ahead and kick off with the armor innovation. The item you get with the armor innovation is a set of armor. But this is a little bit special. Rather than choosing from your standard list of armors, you get to choose a power suit, which is strength-based. It is basically equivalent in AC with full plate without needing heavy armor proficiency, because you don't have that naturally. Or the subterfuge suit, which is for dexterity users, and you can still hit that same total +6 AC. This lets you hit AC numbers that really normally aren't available to anybody except for monks and champions at level 1. So very nice to be able to hit that kind of AC early on. The Armor Innovation has 7 initial modifications available to them. Some examples are the Harmonic Oscillator. This allows you to gain resistance equal to 3 plus half your level to force and sonic damage. You get an extra +2 while in overdrive, and if you don't know what I mean, go back and watch my Inventor video that describes what overdrive is all about. There are many initial modifications that kind of follow this structure where you get 3 plus half your level in resistances, and then extra when you're in overdrive. Then there's Muscular Exoskeleton. This is just for the power suit, and there is a special one for the other suit as well. You get a +1 boost to your athletics checks while in overdrive, or +2 if you're master in crafting, which you will get to by level 7 just by progressing with this class. There's a similar for stealth, like I said, just not around athletics. And finally, speed boosters. You get a straight up +5 bonus to your speed, or +10 while you're in overdrive. Just nice to move faster. The armor innovation has 8 breakthrough modification options. A few examples are the anti-magic plating. You get a straight up +1 to AC and saving throws against spells. This isn't all magic, mind you, but any spell that specifically targets you or the armor also gets a +4 instead of a +1. So if you're really worried about spellcasters and you got that kind of campaign, it could be amazing. Dense plating. You get half your level resistance to slashing damage. There are similar options for bludgeoning and piercing, but they're all individual. But still, these are the most common types of damage, so it makes them strong. Enhanced resistance. So if you took one of the resistance modifications from your initial, like the harmonic oscillator we talked about, instead of getting 3 plus half your level, you get 3 plus your whole level in resistance, which is a lot of resistance for those specific damage types. And finally, hyper boosters. If you already took the speed boosters, now you get a +10 foot speed generally, and +20 in overdrive, or +30 in overdrive with legendary crafting, which is at level 15. And our revolutionary modifications, there are 7 for the armor innovation. Automated impediments. The squares around you are difficult terrain for your enemies, just all the time, which is very, very cool if you're going to go for a melee build. Energy barrier. You get 2 plus half your level resistance to all energy damage, which is fire, cold, electricity, force, acid, sonic, void, and vitality. Now you have to at least have one of the initial modifications about energy resistance, but this is very broad and very strong. Finally, physical protections. You have resistance to all bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing, and persistent bleed damage equal to half your level. You did have to take one of the physical resistances for your breakthrough, but I mean, this is just fantastic. All right, and the armor innovation feats. Collapse armor. This is at level 2. Takes 1 action. You collapse your armor to store it safely on your person, or 1 action to unfold it back onto your body. Good if you want to keep a hidden identity, or if you're Iron Man. Diving armor. Level 4. You can breathe underwater and gain a swim speed equal to your walking speed. So, water campaign, easy choice. Electrify armor. Level 10, 1 action. You charge your suit for 1 round. Any creature that hits you in melee or touches you for any reason, like grappling, such things, takes 1d4 electricity damage, or 2d4 if you're at least level 15, having that legendary in crafting. However, you can choose to make it unstable when you take this action, and it'll last a minute instead of 1 round, and the damage dice aren't d4s, it's d12s. Soaring armor, level 14. You can fly. I mean, just great. Negate damage is a level 18 feat, and our last one on the list here, it is a reaction. When you take damage, you can reduce it by 15, straight up. Or you make it unstable and just reduce it by 50. That is a ton of damage reduction. Just crazy. While somewhat passive compared to the other innovations, there can be no denying the defensive power that armor offers. The possible resistances can be tailored to your campaign, and the feats offer great movement options, which is really nice to see. While there are a couple of feats I would most likely skip, there are some must-takes, like flight, in there too. The downside is that there are armor runes that kind of already offer some of these without needing to use feats in order to pull them off. As for modifications, those can be replicated to an extent as well, but maybe they won't have the same impact that they do with the modifications. I will say that the specific mods for the suit are actually quite strong for their purpose. I believe this is a solid B subclass. It's always useful, it has application in any campaign, but it doesn't provide really any team benefit, and it doesn't dive you further into what the Inventor is really best at. Absolutely, though, a solid option. Well, let's see if the weapon modification can hit any harder. Your innovation item. It's a weapon. You're given any level 0 or 1 simple or martial weapon, or a level 0 advanced weapon, but you don't get an initial modification if you go with the advanced weapon. This advanced weapon, if you choose it, you treat as martial for proficiency's sake. So you're solid with that one advanced weapon. You can still put normal runes on any weapon you take, which, by the way, is same with the armor, which I didn't mention, but runes are still added on like normal. And your overdrive damage can be fire instead of the weapon's normal damage type. So if you're looking to split damage types, you get that for free with your innovation item in this case. Your initial modifications, well, we have 10 available with weapon. Let's give some examples here. Blunt shot, this is ranged only, so you'll notice some of them are for specific weapon types. Your weapon gains the concussive and ranged trip traits. Really useful, actually, to be able to trip from distance. So that's a very cool addition to your weapon. Hampering spikes. This is for a melee weapon only. Your weapon gains the hampering, trip, and versatile piercing traits. So you'll see a lot of the initial modifications are adding traits to your weapon, and actually that kind of continues as well. Finally, segmented frame. Your weapon gains the modular trait for all 3 damage types and becomes collapsible to conceal easily. So if you want to be able to switch up what type of damage, bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing you're doing, you can go with this option. Weapon has 7 breakthrough modifications. Some examples are the advanced rangefinder. This is ranged only. Your weapon gains the backstabber trait and increases its range increment by 20 feet. Maybe that's not amazing if you've got a weapon that already has, 100 plus feet on it, but if you're using thrown weapons, for instance, they are still ranged, and 20 more feet could mean a lot. Manifold alloy. Your weapon can act as both cold iron and silver for triggering weakness. Kind of specific to the campaign you're in and the type of enemies you fight, but could be a make or break moment for you, honestly. And tangle line. This is for thrown only. Your thrown weapon gains the parry, ranged trip, and tethered traits. And that last one is huge if you don't want to have to put a returning rune on your weapon. Tethered means you're just going to be able to pull it right on back. And finally, the weapon has 8 revolutionary modifications. Deadly Strike gives your weapon the Deadly D8 trait. And if you're wondering about that, look up my weapon traits video, but you're going to get to add a D8 on top of your damage whenever you crit. If you already had the deadly trait, you get to increase the deadly die size by 2 increments up to a maximum of D12. Very, very cool. Extensible weapon. Your weapon gains the reach trait or extends its reach. Gaining reach on a non-reach weapon is not something to ignore. That can completely change your playstyle. Momentum enhancers. Once per round, you can reload your weapon as a free action. So if you went down the gun route for this, suddenly reloading is really not a big deal for you. Okay, so some very cool modifications. Let's talk about our feats. Starting with dual form weapon at level 4, you choose a second level 0 weapon that you have access to, in this case martial or simple. Give it an initial modification and it becomes the second form of your weapon. With 2 interact actions, you can swap between the weapons. So if you want to have the options in combat to go back and forth between 2 weapons that are both still considered your innovation, this is how you do it. Explosive maneuver, level 14, 1 action, you just made a successful strike. You get to attempt to grapple, trip, or shove the creature you successfully hit using the same multiple attack penalty that you just used for the strike. Now there are some caveats here. Whichever one you choose to go with, let's say you go with grapple, your weapon has to already have that trait on it as well. So you might want to choose based on the modifications you get. And your map increases for both, your multiple attack penalty increases for both actions after this completes. Devastating weaponry, level 18, 3 actions. You fire a weapon or you throw and release it to fly on its own. You make a strike against every foe within 30 feet without increasing your multiple attack penalty until all strikes have occurred. This doesn't work for weapons which require reloading, so you're not going to be able to fire a gun that many times. And a melee weapon will just end up falling on the ground next to you after it returns to you. But hey, you want to be able to hit everybody in a massive area? This is how you do it. Those are sadly, though, all of our weapon innovation feats. And that kind of leads us into the problem here. The weapon innovation initially sounds like it would be this big damage-dealing choice with a lot of options, and it does have a lot of modifications, but nothing that's about improving your single target damage. At least nothing specific to the innovation, because there are feats within the class that do that. Instead, you're adding all sorts of versatility to your weapon by adding traits via the modifications. Versatility is very important, and you will feel good about adding reach to certain weapons or reloading once per turn when it's possible, but it won't fundamentally change what's possible for your character. As much as I want to be excited about the weapon innovation and want to give it a higher mark than this, I still think it's a B. You can honestly change the way you play to some extent because you can use something like adding grapple to a big weapon, and then some of these options allow you to grapple after you did a strike. That'll help your team out. You can shove and things with weapons that can't really do that. You get some options to really play around with the way that you run your combat for your character, but it's not so significant that I think it's a go-to or must-have. It's just on the same kind of realm as the armor, on more of an offensive team building side of things rather than a self-defensive side. Okay, so we've got two landing kind of in the same place. Sounds non-committal to me. Oh well, let's see if I can land somewhere else with our construct innovation. The innovation item, well, this isn't really just an item, this is a companion. So you get the construct companion that will aid you in combat. This uses the prototype construct companion stat block, which is in Guns and Gears Remastered. When you overdrive, both you and your construct get the overdrive bonus, and you take damage on crit failure, both of you. From level 1, if you use 2 actions to command it instead of 1, the construct will get 3 actions instead of the normal 2. Usually this is something you get later on, but you get it at level 1 for Inventor. Also, you will get access to the usual companion improvement feats. We're not going to go through all those. Go look at my companion video. It'll describe all of them to you. The construct has 7 available initial modifications. Accelerated mobility, your construct has a speed of 40 feet. That is really far. This isn't so dissimilar to what some beast companions can do, but again, it is really, really far. Increased size, you can make your construct large. Later on, there is a feat that will allow this to happen anyway as part of progression for your construct. So when that does happen, you can actually come back and change this one to a different modification. But for now, having large means you can potentially ride it. Projectile launcher. Your construct gains a 1d4 unarmed ranged attack with a range of 60 feet. Really nice depending on what playstyle you want. Breakthrough modifications. The construct has 6 available. Advanced weaponry. One of your construct's unarmed attacks gains an initial weapon modification from the weapon innovation modification set. So that's very cool. Anti-magic construction. Your construct gains a +2 bonus to saves and AC against spells. Not all magic, spells. And turret configuration. For 1 action, your construct goes into a turret mode. While in the form, it's immobilized, but the projectile launcher does 1d6 instead of 1d4 damage and has a range of 60 feet instead of 30 feet. Revolutionary modifications. Construct has 5 available, starting with the flight chassis. Now your construct has a 25-foot fly speed. Fantastic. Resistant coating. Your construct gains 5 resistance to all damage except adamantine. All damage, across the board, every type. Crazy. Runic Keystone. Your companion can have 1 armor or weapon property rune. So these aren't your potency runes, but these are property runes, like flaming. Very, very cool. So what are our feats for the construct? I think I say cool too much. Anyway. No, I created you! Level 1, it's a reaction. Used when your construct would become confused or controlled. This lets you try to counteract the effect using your crafting modifier, which is really going to be high because you get that for free and it's based on your primary ability score. Collapse construct. This is level 2, 1 action, and your construct goes down and fits into a briefcase or becomes a briefcase, and you can turn it back into a construct form. You don't have to do the briefcase thing, it's just a thought. But anyway, that's how that works. Duo Dragon Kick. This is level 4, takes 2 actions, and this isn't out of Guns and Gears, by the way, but it is still considered a common feat to take. Your construct has to be next to you, however. You leap in tandem, using unarmed strikes at the start or end of your leap. This uses the construct's actions for the turn, so you can't give more action out of this, and you combine the damage if both of you hit. You can use it with an unstable action to leap further, so 10 feet horizontally and 5 feet vertically, which is farther than your normal leap. Construct Shell. This is level 6. You always have lesser cover while riding your construct. Remember, you can make it large to ride it. And you can choose not to be included in any emanation abilities it uses, such as Explode. So if you really want to ride your construct around, this is almost a must-take. Lock On. Level 10, 1 action. Choose one enemy. Your construct has a +2 bonus to attack rolls against that enemy for the rest of this turn. If you use 2 actions to command the companion, this becomes a +3 to hit, or a +4 to hit if you're of legendary crafting, so you're level 15. This can be a great way to really boost your ability for your construct to crit. And finally, Engine of Destruction at level 18. This is 3 actions. Your construct moves up to 30 feet. It then blasts each enemy within 30 feet, making attack rolls with a +2 circumstance bonus, and it doesn't increase the multiple attack penalty until all attack rolls are done. So rather than walking in with your own weapon, you just send in your robot and let it do the dirty work for you. The construct innovation is somewhat difficult to rank, as it is entirely possible to have a construct companion with normal progression, similar to what the druid gets with their animal companion, even without the innovation status. It might feel at first like it's kind of a waste to take it, because there's just a level 1 feat that gives you a construct companion. However, the modifications really are very strong. Some of the feats can improve not only your construct, but really how you play with it as well, such as having construct shell, for instance. This can be using it for flanking up front while you sit back and fire, and you aid your allies by flanking with them. This can be setting it as a turret and laying down cover fire while you run up and join in the fray. It can be a mount that can defend you. The versatility innovation really does make it stand above the others. I'm actually going to give the construct innovation an A. And I know there are people out there who just don't like companion playstyles. Great, it's not for you. That's okay. This isn't going to change your view on that. And there are those people who think, companions don't really keep up in combat with their attack stats, but I still feel like the most significant increase to your playstyle, meaning versatility, how you can help your allies and yourself, really comes from the construct innovation. When all said and done, though, the base chassis of the Inventor is just very solid. Whichever innovation you choose, you can build an interesting and fun character that's quite versatile. You really don't need these to make you more versatile than just the base class already is. I know this is the second time I've given high marks to a companion subclass, but that's for good reason. Companions just offer so many tactical advantages, and they're really no pushover on the battlefield either. They can really withstand a lot of damage. What do you think? Are you a weapon innovation fan? You just don't like constructs and think I've overrated them? Let me know in the comments. And as always, adventure on.